Back
Here
on the
we
show.
are back.
We're very happy to have Nicole Crellin joining us here. There she is. She's the Toronto director of the Youth for Human Rights.
That's right.
And great to have you on, Nicole. So, Human Rights Day is
December 10th,
right?
Yeah, it has been adopted as International Human Rights Day since 1948. So a lot of people, if they look in their calendar, they'll see December 10th, International Human Rights Day. But a lot of people don't know. They see that on the calendar and say, okay, fine, next. But it is a very important date because it deals with everyone individually as human beings. Because we know that after, we know World War II, there was a lot of atrocities, a lot of human rights violations just because of your race, people were just ostracized, and that was very heavy with a lot of human rights abuses for sure. Mm-hmm. So what happened is Eleanor Roosevelt decided, what would be some basic human rights that every human being on the world should have? And she asked representatives from different countries to come up with some rights. And one of the main drafters of this Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as it came to be known, was a Canadian, John Peters Humphrey, as well as a French representative. And so they came up with 30 basic human rights, promote it, get people involved about educating them about these rights. But if you do a survey, even if you're doing a survey in your own community, everyone here who's listening could go out and ask people, how many human rights do you have? And they would look at you, possibly very blankly, and say, well, I don't know. And they might be able to name a few of those rights, mm-hmm. but they would not know the importance of it. So that's what Human Rights Day is all about.
Well, fortunately, you brought these bookmarks in here. Well, all 30 are listed. Do you know any human rights that you have, DBoss?
No, that's why Nicole's here. That's why Nicole's here to tell us about it. But we can show this little commercial.
Do we want to do this?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because these are there's a different video on each human right, right? So this is this
one video that says "Don't discriminate."
That's the human right. It's number 2, human right number 2. We're gonna watch a 1-minute video that talks all about it, and
we'll be right back.
Well, we're still here.
Joe. Steven. Hey. I'll take him right there. All right, take care. Yeah, right here.
That was a good one in sports.
Well, it was.
It greeted you at birth.
There's one here.
There's another one going on.
The right to life.
The right to life. So we're going to.
Let me see. Let's go to this one. Little baby. Yes. Ooh. You see?
Your first kiss. It's with you when you win, when you lose, when you pick yourself up again. In every moment, you can feel it. Life. Human right number 3, the right to life. What are human rights? Find out. at youthforhumanrights.org.
Well, that's it for now.
Well, those are 2 human rights. There's 30 of them.
Well,
And-
we're not going to play all 30.
No, we're not gonna. But you can all go to the website, humanrights.com or youthforhumanrights.org and find out more. But Nicole, how long have you been doing this now?
Well, it started in 2004, and I was very interested in human rights, and I saw some human rights violations, and I was involved in that, but I did not know that this existed. So I became aware that this Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which has 30 articles, 30 human rights, existed. So after that, well, I applied article number 29, which is responsibility. So that means that once you have knowledge about something, well, you have to get into action. You know, you have more knowledge, so therefore you have to do more. And so I decided, well, Human Rights Day, I should do something. So I decided to do an event and did that. And then you look around and you kind of go, okay, well, nobody around me is doing anything. So, okay, well, I'll do another one. So this year will be the 16th annual. And of course, we're going to be doing this virtual this year. But what it is I've been involved in this. And the more I get, to speak about it and to talk to others, it just like it's a subject that just is not stagnant. It just increases and increases because human rights is such a big subject. So I am also understanding more the value of this. And and with Youth for Human Rights, the whole mandate of this is to teach people about their human rights and to inspire them to become advocates for tolerance and peace. And so these 30 human rights, okay, so let's say you know all about them. You can repeat them, you can memorize them, and you know them. Oh, that's really good. But then the other part is, what can you do to understand how you can apply them? So it's all about application. It's not just having the knowledge and not doing anything about it. If you know something is wrong, but you do nothing about it, you're missing a step. So even if it's like knowing about that and seeing something that's wrong and you just frown about something, that's okay. You did something. Somebody did something, you frown, that's not okay. That's something you can do. And of course, others can get involved. An example, we have I'm an educator, and so what I do is I am an occasional teacher, but like a full-time occasional teacher. I go to schools and different classes and all, and so I really like to ask, so how many human rights do you have to the kids, right? And it could be from grade 6 on up. And they don't know. They'll guess. And so I'll let them know that they have 30. You do that. And sometimes like with different human rights activities are done by teachers as well. There is a manual that is totally like for educators, a guide, and it's all based on how you can apply those human rights and different lessons. And there's one, if it's possible to show it, what youth can do. Yeah.
It's turning invisible, but the right to education. See?
Yeah.
And this is an art done by a grade 8 student, and it's done by Agshayan Pirapagaran. And he shows a little boy that has a pencil at the end, at one end, and a broom at the other end. Which one do you want to be? Do you want to be the person who is not educated and is just like doing the manual work, but doesn't have enough education? It's the power of education. Do you want to just do anyways, it's just like the importance of reading and finding out more knowledge about life. And so it's very powerful. Like, he's got that fist there with the pencil, right? So it's a very great rendition of this. And other students did other great work, but I couldn't bring them all. So I thought I'd just bring this one about right to education, since this is what we're speaking about today.
Right. But you know, a lot of things must be coming up. You guys, your offices must be really busy, and everybody must be really busy because all the different issues coming up with the killings, the shootings among the youth. They're all, you know, everybody's it's just been crazy for the last 2 years and stuff like that with all these things happening. So now people are really trying to see what is their rights.
Well, yeah. So it's important that people be aware of them. And even things like the whole COVID thing where the government is telling businesses to close and stuff like that. You know, so it's not just individuals that are trampling on human rights, but governments are doing it, even our own governments.
I understand very, very well. And that is why it is so important to know that these rights, because you can say, like, let's say the right to privacy. That's a big issue even in our world right now, what's going on. And this is a human right. So, you know, people will say, well, the right to privacy, yeah, that's something, you know, that we should have the right to, but they don't understand that it is a right that you have as a human being. Don't discriminate. People hear, oh, don't discriminate. Okay, yeah, it's something not to do. It's a human right, right? So if you know that this is a right that you have as a human being, you have more power to stand up saying, this is my right as a human being. You're trampling on it. Yeah, you're giving more power by understanding this.
And I know we've had the conversation before, Nicole, because we talk about this almost every year, you know, as Human Rights Day is coming up. But it's one thing to have human rights, that these 30 that are, I guess, were done at the UN, right? So these are United Nations mandated human rights. But it's like, and it's one thing to stand up, right? And now you're saying that for everybody watching the show here, now that they're aware of this, now they have a responsibility to kind of assert human rights or stand up when they see that somebody's human rights are being violated. But how do you enforce it, right? How do you enforce it when a government sends police to you and they've got guns pointed at you? Like, how do you actually assert those human rights?
Yeah, this document is a very important document, but it doesn't have the force of law. And a lot of other rights and bills and constitutions have used this as a basis to form their bills and constitutions, but it has not been put down as a force of law. Mm-hmm. So therefore, we have to use at least educate people. Start with the education. Some things that people could do. They have the 30 human rights. Well, I did a little bookmark with all of them.
Yeah, it's great.
So it's something you can bring with you, have with you, share with others. That's something you can do. I have a friend of mine who is in my community, and she has distributed door to door 5,000 of these booklets just within the last 4 months, some 4 or 5 months. Mm-hmm. So that's something she has done. And this is all, you know, given free of charge. Mm-hmm. These materials are free, given by the Youth for Human Rights International, printed free of charge.
So these could be, so people watching this, no matter what country they're in, can get these for free.
That's right. And it has been translated in different languages. And you can organize an art contest. You can organize, whatever is possible. I was going to say a dance, but I don't know about that. It would have to be a monologue, individual dance.
You can come back tonight around 9 o'clock, Nicole.
Okay, all right. So we do have these materials. Another one is you could have a showing of the story of human rights, an incredible, powerful documentary about how human rights came about. And it gives you a bit of history. Let's say 539 BC, we have Cyrus the Great, who decides to free the slaves in Babylon. And he says, listen, you can have the right to your own beliefs and your own religion. And he freed them. So that was fantastic. And there's a clay cylinder where all, some of those rights are put down. And this is a very powerful, the longest that we can from the past that we are aware of that started putting down those human rights. And I think the original one is going different museums around the world, but that was with Cyrus the Great, before Christ, 539. Then we have like the Magna Carta. So it tells you a little bit about the history where kings and queens, they had their rights, and I want that property tomorrow and get out. And some of the common people did not have rights. So they said, well, wait a minute here. Not only the kings and the queens and the wealthy people have those rights, we have rights. So they had to stand up for that. So if we go through history, we have Nelson Mandela, we have Martin Luther King, we have Mahatma Gandhi, all these people who stood up for human rights. They were very, very brave, courageous, and thank goodness for them, because our society is much better because of what they did. But all of us can do something small. As Eleanor Roosevelt said, where do human rights begin? Well, she said, they begin in small places, close to home, and so small that you cannot see them on a map, but yet they are the world to the individual, right? Could be the office where you work, your school, these little places. Do something. Like if you're in a classroom, you're a business, and you see things that are not okay or are violating some of those rights, do something about that. And we're not asking people to be a Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King and a Nelson Mandela. We admire those people, but not everybody can
Well, I think
do
that's
this.
something people should strive for on their own anyway.
Yes.
What are you going to say?
Yeah, but what about there's a lot of people that feel that they're violated, like they're coming from other countries. Maybe sometimes they come from the Caribbean. They come from, and then they come here for the school system, and then the school system, because of what they took in other countries, their grade is not the same grade, and they got to be put back. Is that some sort of a violation of their human rights? Do you think?
Well, as an educator, here's my answer.
Right.
What it is. What is so important is to give people, everyone, that skill that they have. And what's happening sometimes is people do not get the skill, and they haven't been given somehow, but they're passed. And to me as a mother, I would like to know that my son knows the information and can go from step to step to step to step. So what it is an example. I'm in a classroom and I say, hey, Johnny, what do you think is the answer of this? And someone answers, he doesn't speak English. Oh, but he's in grade 7 and he doesn't speak English? Oh my gosh. But we're doing French. Okay, you know what? Can you, Johnny, the other person, you know a lot. Can you teach him 10 words of English? This is not okay. People who come in from another country should have a welcoming center that helps them to get the basics and then to integrate them later on, because this is not fair. If I was in China and I did not understand any of the language, but I was expected to know everything, I would feel so bad, so anxious, so depressed. I would have a lot of emotional reactions.
Because a lot of these people come down here as doctors, they're engineers in their
I
country,
know.
and then they've been doing all that, and then they come to maybe North America, and they can't even do what they were doing.
And that's right, number 2, don't discriminate.
You see?
Right? It's a human right. You have that document, you can show. Can you show that you're able to do that? Therefore, there's another one. Everyone should be treated equally, right? So these are human rights.
Because
so
that
would be
doctors and
yes,
stuff, but they make them go do. Imagine you just finish, and a doctor. I'm just saying, as a quote unquote a doctor, because that's a long thing, a long career, and then they come up here. They got to start all over, even though they've been doing all the stuff that they're supposed to do. So
I know, and it's been for 30 years. People have been talking about it. I've heard about it 30 years ago, but it's still a situation. So again, it's like getting together,
and then
and
some of them even come out of their career because they gotta, they go to either be a taxi driver or something, and they were a big doctor, and or
And it's a
engineer or
loss.
something.
Yeah, and it's a loss for society.
Yeah.
Well, that's because our government has lost its way in terms of being able to kind of, take the country in a direction. It's just, that's a whole other show. Okay, Nicole.
And that's your own opinion.
That's my own opinion. Yes, it is. Nicole, okay, so December 10th is Human Rights Day.
That's right.
Normally, there's a big event at the Ontario Science Centre, but
Yes.
This year we're going to do a virtual event. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? What
Yes.
people can do?
Yes. So on December 10th, we're going to have a special virtual event on that channel. I hope everybody can, link in. And we're going to have a international human rights lawyer who originally comes from Pakistan, and he lives in Canada at this moment. So he's going to present a video on that. We also have the Youth Day Global founder, Tylane Duggan, who has done a lot for freedom of expression by supporting youth to dance, sing, perform, all of those artistic abilities, to develop those and pick up a guitar, right, and do something. So she's going to present a video. There's also going to be the Toronto Police or a department where the police that department is working to have a better relationship with the Black community, and that's what they're doing. So they're going to be doing a little video on this. There's also a youth who is a conflict resolution, very incredible human rights advocate. Originally came from the Congo, and he lives now in New York. And he has a little message, a very powerful message that is going to contribute. So we'll have very interesting points of view about human rights and why it's important to know them and apply them.
Okay, so that's going to be live here on that channel.
Yes.
.com. What time is that on the channel?
You said 8 o'clock.
8 p.m.
Yes.
8 p.m. Yeah. Okay, great. So, well, that's good. That's how we're going to celebrate Youth Human Rights Day this year. And of course, people can get go to humanrights.com, get more info, get those free resources that you were talking about, Nicole, and also Youth for Human Rights. Org.
Yeah, youthforhumanrights.org.
See, there you go. Okay, Nicole. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Informing people and giving us,
And we're going to see you back here on the 10th.
information.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great.
Okay. Stay tuned for Talk It Out, and we'll be right back.
After these messages.